Hey everyone, we're just going to give it another minute or two before we get started. So we'll just start in a couple minutes. Thanks. All right, I think we can get started here. As more people are attending, they can jump on. But I want to say hello, everyone, and thank you and welcome for joining GreenerGov and the Connecticut Green Bank for the Solar Map for State Government webinar. We're excited to have the Green Bank here today to provide state agencies information on how to initiate a solar project on their state facility. Today we have Mackie Dykes and Emily Basham from the Connecticut Green Bank who will be conducting the presentation. If anyone has any questions, throughout the webinar, feel free to put them in the chat. And if there's time at the end, we'll be happy to answer those questions, or we'll make sure to get back to you on those. And for those that weren't able to attend today, we will post this webinar on the GreenerGov website in the next few days or weeks here. So with that, I'm going to hand it off over to Mackie and Emily to get the webinar started. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ryan. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this rainy morning, or at least if you're in the Hartford area. My name is Mackie Dykes. I'm the Vice President of Financing Programs at the Connecticut Green Bank. I'm joined here by Emily Basham, also with the Green Bank. You can go to the next slide. So today we'll be talking about our Solar Marketplace Assistance Program. How the financing for that works, as well as all the support we can give for solar projects. We'll talk a little bit about the projects that we've done at state agencies through this program, and then talk through how you can get involved, start looking at projects if you're interested. I already did introductions, so going to start moving right here into the agenda. So for those that aren't aware, the Connecticut Green Bank is a quasi-state agency founded just over 10 years ago. We were the nation's first green bank, started to drive private investment into clean energy projects in the state of Connecticut. There was a recognition back 10 years ago, and it's continued since then, that the state was setting lofty goals in terms of clean energy deployment, and that the most significant barrier to meeting those was cost, and there wasn't enough grant or rebates money to cover the cost of all those projects, and businesses, nonprofits, residents, munis, the state all needed some type of support to help them come up with the cost, the remaining cost of projects that they wanted to do. So that's where we stepped in to come up with partnerships where we could take our public money that we get and figure out ways to bring attractive capital in to make these projects happen. Next slide, please. So obviously that overview that I just gave for us was very financing focused. that is primarily what we do. And in our initial years, we did a lot. We financed a lot of projects with, particularly solar, with municipalities, and we saw that there were a lot of barriers other than those financing barriers to making projects happen. We initiated conversations about 6 years ago with a few state agencies who are also having a lot of the same issues that we were seeing with municipalities in making projects happen. So we came up with the Marketplace Assistance Program to help overcome all those barriers. Paying for the projects is one, but all the other ones that you would encounter in trying to get a project done. So that's everything from what's a feasible site for putting solar, how do I find a contractor, how do I secure the incentives, and what the legal documentation looks like, how do I navigate that process within the various state agencies that are involved in that, and then also where our primary expertise is how do I pay for it. So we came up with the program to address all those barriers with the goal of taking what was at that point in time really very limited solar deployment across state agencies and ramping it up so that agencies could meet the then Governor Malloy and now Governor Lamont's clean energy goals for the state, as well as save money. Businesses, nonprofits, municipalities across the state, we're doing projects and seeing significant cost savings, reductions in electric bills. So we wanted to make sure that the state was getting their part for those. So how does this work? Go to the next slide, please. So the first step is that feasibility step that I mentioned, figuring out where the best sites are for solar and really if they're feasible for a project. We started just looking at on buildings or adjacent land, but that's opened up thanks to policy changes within the state. We can now look really at any open field or land that the state owns or controls. So we can come in with a technical consultant that we have. Really, all you have to do is tell us, oh yeah, we have this address, this building, or this land. We can do a feasibility assessment of that site, and if there is potential, then we develop that further, do a site visit, look at utility bills, look at the roof, look at the land, look in the electric rooms, and based on all that information we collect, come up with a preliminary design for the system, which we would then work with you and the agency leadership to make sure that fits within your how you use the property, and come up with a design that makes sense for everyone. Once there's initial agreement on that design, and I should say there's no commitment or signatures or anything at that point, it's just all, we're sort of all aligned that this is a project that we're interested in pursuing, but at this point we don't have numbers or contractors or anything, so obviously no commitment when we don't know the actual specifics of a deal. So once we've got that design that's acceptable to everyone, we'll go out and put the pieces together for the project. We secure what's known as the NRES, the Non-Residential Energy Solutions program. That's the utilities incentive program for solar. We'll go out and secure those incentives, which make the project work. We run RFPs to find a contractor to actually build the project. And then we also run RFPs to put together the money for the project. We'll get in a minute into the actual structure for that, but we offer our subsidized money to potential owners or financiers for the project, so that you can see a sort of better economics for a project. But we do draw in a lot of private money into these projects as well through that RFP. Then once we put all those pieces together, we've got the actual full specifics of a project. Here's what it would look like. Here is the savings for you over the contract. Here are timelines and everything. And at that point, we move into executing what's known as a power purchase agreement, which we'll get into in a minute. That's the actual contracting mechanism for the projects, and that's with the Connecticut Green Bank and the relevant state agency, as well as DAS, who has the procurement authority for these projects. And then we would move into, once that's in place, the Green Bank works with the selected contractor to fully engineer the system, do all the permitting, get all the relevant approvals in place, build the system. Once all that's done, we oversee the construction, and then actually turning the system on. And just one point about this whole process, we worked, I mentioned we started working on this around 6 years ago. We worked with all the relevant agencies involved in procurement as well, and the contracting on this, to make sure that we had a structure and a framework that worked for navigating all the issues that come up with those. So the Green Bank is able, as a quasi-state agency, to run these procurements, to secure the contractors and the money for the project. On the other side, it's the DAS, as I mentioned, is the master contracting authority for these projects. They utilize their authority to purchase power for the state, and they sign a master agreement for the projects. And then we work with each agency to sign the power purchase agreement that is for your particular projects. And all those contract templates have been developed with the DAS, and the Office of the Attorney General has seen them and signed off on them. So we've sort of developed the templates and framework to make this as easy as possible. With that, let me turn it over to Emily to sort of get into the details on how the structure actually works here, the power purchase agreement.
Thanks, Mackie. Good morning, everyone. So at the heart of the project is a power purchase agreement that the Connecticut Green Bank signs with each agency. So this is a very common way to go solar. In this arrangement, the Green Bank and our financing partners own the solar system. It's located on your property, either on top of a roof or the ground or open space, maybe a carport. So it's located on your property. And then the Green Bank is selling the electricity that's generated from each system, and the agency is receiving the energy savings from each system. So Mackie mentioned there's a master agreement. These site-specific agreements are between the Green Bank and the agency, and they're specific to each project. So for example, if your agency ends up doing 2 installations, maybe on 2 different campuses, there would be 2 separate power purchase agreements, one for each project. And they would include sort of the specific pricing and economics that are based on the specific characteristics of that project. And the goal here is we're only proposing projects that generate the energy savings for the agency. So that's the key benefit that's really driving these projects is being able to deliver energy savings, but there are a lot of other benefits to using a power purchase agreement. For example, there's no capital expenditure for the agency, since the Connecticut Green Bank and our financing partners are the owners of the project. We're providing all of the upfront capital to construct the systems, allowing each agency to preserve their capital budgets. And there's no upfront cost to the agency. So, no upfront cost to actually build the system, but also to participate in the program. So once the system is built, the agency also isn't responsible for the operations and maintenance of the system. So we're locking in those the third party that will maintain the system for the life of the agreement. They'll be monitoring the system, making sure it's performing as we expected. So all of these sort of aspects of a power purchase agreement are really attractive and allow state agencies to move forward with a project without, sort of the headaches that come along with ownership and securing, a capital source or a budget line item for the project. So we started this program 5 or 6 years ago. The last few years, we've had a number of projects with a number of agencies that have participated in the program. So we wanted to show the work that we've been doing so far. We do these projects sort of in rounds based on when they get started, when they want to move forward with a project. So our first round of projects that are now under construction are 7 projects that are with the Department of Corrections. So there's 7 separate PPAs or 7 different installations across 3 different campuses with the Department of Corrections. All in all, it's about 8 megawatts of solar, and they're providing about a 32% discount for energy savings to the Department of Corrections through the solar generation. Our second round of projects are with various agencies. The technical schools have about 7 projects. Department of Transportation has 2, and the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection has 2. We're currently contracting for those projects and hoping to get started on the engineering and design and construction soon after. These projects represent about 9 megawatts of solar and also provide a hefty discount and provide energy savings to each of these agencies. And then our last round, we've just put forward some final project proposals after scoping some great designs for the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and the Department of Veteran Affairs. So we're hopeful those will be moving forward soon as well. So we've got a lot of different projects in the works across various agencies that are helping us to meet our clean energy goals as a state.
And just just to put some of those numbers in context, the megawatts probably don't mean a lot to a lot of people. So for the Department of Correction projects in round 1, those are all ground mounted systems. So think solar farm. So, as you're driving down the highway, primarily, especially up in Massachusetts, you see a lot of those solar farms by the side of the road. It takes about roughly 5 acres of a 5 acre solar farm for 1 megawatt of solar. So that's around 40 acres of a solar farm, not in one place, but at a few different Department of Correction facilities. 1 megawatt can power roughly, like, depends on how much it produces, but like 150 homes. So again, just wanted to give some context for the size of these systems. Sorry, Emily, go on.
No, great context. So to get started, we can do sort of maybe an introductory call with us, a one-on-one consultation, and see what your goals are, if there's any sites that you're interested in evaluating, or you can just shoot over a list with us to do our first assessment, which can be a remote assessment, just looking at some of the physical characteristics of a site. It's very simple and easy for us to do and a good place to get started. Either one of those are great actions to get started with. All right, so that's the end of our presentation. We'd love to take any questions. I know we've got a chat feature on GoToWebinar. And Ryan and Rita, I don't know if we're able to unmute people if they raise their hand, but happy to also take questions that way. Let's see here.
I don't see anything in the chat right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can.
And I can't tell if anyone is trying to unmute themselves.
Okay, I see a couple of them coming in. Can just read them out loud. Who is the primary contact? I'm assuming that's what PC means, primary contact to contact. Is it different for each agency? So I would say the Connecticut Green Bank is the primary contact for participating in this program. We've got our contact information on the last slide. If you prefer to reach out to Greener Gov to get more information, we also provided the email address for the Greener Gov folks, but it would be the Connecticut Green Bank. Okay. Does this relate at all to the solar project currently happening at DDS?
Nope, this is completely separate.
All right, and another question, can you please repeat the context information about how many acres generate a megawatt?
It's roughly 5 acres. It can be a little less, it can be a little more, but yeah, around 5 acres per megawatt. And yeah, go ahead, the DDS question. Yeah, we're not working on that project. Wasn't aware of a project there, but this isn't the only mechanism or framework to go. So I mean, states can obviously pursue, or excuse me, not agencies, can pursue any buying things on your own. But we put this together just to try to make it as easy as possible, as well as I think there are some benefits to, we take multiple projects, aggregate them together, and RFP them out. So that tends to drive better cost savings when you've got a lot of projects as opposed to one small, mid-size, or medium-sized one.
That's all I'm seeing in the Q&A so far. Let's see here. Oh, we got one more. How long does a project take that would produce 8 megawatts? I'm assuming how long does it take? Maybe we could take that a couple different ways to develop it, to construct it. That would be a very large project. I would say our development timelines are probably taking about 6 months or so to do all the initial feasibility and put all the pieces together. Sometimes it can take a while to get the contract signed, but to construct a system that large would also take, I would think like 5 or 6 months to construct a system that large.
Yeah, the actual construction would be the shortest part. So, I mean, it'll take,
Yeah.
as I said, a few months. Permitting a large project like that would probably be the most lengthy part of the process. And, could take 3 months to 9 months. One of the other big drivers in the timing for a solar project is those utility incentives that I mentioned. Those programs aren't run where when you have a project, you just go in when you're ready. There's timeframes that where the utilities sort of open up the program for applications twice a year. And there's limited amount of incentives in each one of those. So for a large system like that, there'd be a lot of competition for incentives. So that could affect the timeline. But yeah, all in all, Emily's right. In terms of actually building it, you're looking at a few months. She said 4 to 6 months.
That's some good questions.
Are there any other questions? I can't see the Q&A chat, so I'm not sure.
No, there's no other that are in the Q&A so far. And maybe we'll just offer people to reach out if they'd like to have a follow-up conversation, get more of their specific questions answered. Mackie and I can be available for a conversation as well. And of course, the Greener Gov email address is on the screen. Ryan, I know you mentioned we'll be posting the recording of this presentation on the Greener Gov website, so people can have that available as well.
Okay. Then I think if there are no further questions, I think we could probably end this webinar. And like we said, we'll make sure to post the link to this on our Greener Gov website, and we'll send an email when that's all ready. And feel free to forward that to anyone that did not get a chance to be on the webinar today. And all questions, feel free to reach out to Mackie or Emily, or even include Lead by Example if you like to keep everyone in the loop. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining today. Take care, everyone.
Thank you all.